I mean, just wow. Spidey Geo9 here, coming to you with, my initial thoughts of The Mandalorian final episode of season 2, chapter 16, I think. This video is going to have spoilers in it, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, I'd encourage you to come back and watch after you finish watching the final episode. And if it seems like I'm somber, I'm not. I honestly just don't know how to handle the emotions that I have right now. I'm a Marvel fan. That doesn't mean I'm not a Star Wars fan. I am. But my fandom as a Marvel's fan has just been different than my fandom as a Star Wars fan. As a child, I was really into X-Men and Spider-Man, especially because of the animated cartoon series. That's what really brought me in, not the comic books. The comic books were secondary. Actually, they were third. It was the animated series, and then comic card collecting, action figures, and then comic books. And even in the realm of comic books, I was kind of more of a wizard fan. Like I loved everything around superheroes. I loved learning about them and studying the flaws and the strengths of heroes more than I even enjoyed reading the comic books, which I did enjoy. But with all that being said, I've never had the reaction that I had this early morning to the final episode of The Mandalorian in any of my experiences as a Marvel fan. Even in Endgame, when Tony Stark was like, and when he literally kind of gave his life to save, all those who had been killed by the Thanos snap, I didn't cry. Like, that wasn't a thing for me. Do I cry in movies? Yeah. I mean, I cry, when I'm a father, so if there's something, related to children, that'll get me worked up pretty good. I have a strong faith, and so anything that really ties into my faith and really touches that, can get me emotional. None of that, well, I say none of that was at play here. There was some of that at play. You had these bonds that, were expressed between Mando and the child, Grogu. But that's not when I started crying. I started crying happy tears as I was watching this episode. I wasn't logging when that started happening, but the show just started out on such a high note with Slave One, doing, in battle with another ship, and they boarded, which was cool, and then watching Boba Fett, go after another Mandalorian in battle. That was pretty cool at the beginning. And then, leading up to as they boarded Moff Gideon's ship, that whole scene, the fight scenes, you had a part of it that reminded me of the Endgame, when you had kind of the all-female, attack squad, so to speak, that was leading the charge onto the bridge. It reminded me in the Endgames where you kind of had that all-female scene where they went after Thanos. But it didn't feel as forced in this episode in Star Wars as it felt forced in kind of a clear signaling of, of feminism, which, whatever your views are there, but it just felt forced in Endgame, and it felt more natural. Like, hey, these are just heroes. These are just super awesome, people fighting and doing what it takes to honor what it is that their convictions that drive them to be on this ship and doing the battle. So that was really cool, and didn't feel forced. And then Mando, going off by himself, getting caught by one of the dark troopers, and having his head freaking pounded. That was crazy. And that, you know, I have a newfound respect for Beskar. Like, I mean, I knew it was strong, you know, but, you know, it obviously supersedes Iron Man's armor in terms of durability and what it can withstand, even the dark saber and the dark troopers pounding. But, and of course, then Mando, you know, battles Moff Gideon, which is a really cool scene. I had to do a double take of where the Beskar spear was. Like I had to actually, that was the only part I rewound. I was like, wait a minute, where'd he get the spear? But it was tucked behind him. Just never noticed it until that scene. And then of course, he fights Moff Gideon, defeats Moff Gideon, and saves the child at that point. Appears to save the child. Boards the bridge when, you know, all, you know, like 30 other dark troopers then come back and invade the ship and board the ship and come after. You know, and there's this tension building, and you know, because Grogu had, you know, called out to the Jedis with the Force that, you know, you knew that was happening. Like, you knew there was about to be a Jedi arrive. And, you know, at that point, you know, there's been all kinds of speculation. But it was, I mean, it's just an incredible scene, you know, like in Endgame, you knew that the heroes that had been killed were coming back, right? Like you knew you were going to have that moment after, you know, Captain America and Thor and Iron Man battle Thanos, and Captain America takes up Thor's hammer, which was probably my favorite moment in the Endgame movie. And there was a lot of cheers, but there were no tears, right? Like for me, anyways. I know there was tears for some, but it wasn't for me. But even then, that wasn't the moment that, you know, kind of saved that Thanos was defeated. But as soon as I saw that X-wing, there was still, like, at that point I knew, like, okay, this is either Luke, Obi-Wan, or Ahsoka Tano that's arriving, in my opinion. But it's clearly signaling to Luke, which I began to get emotional, like happy tears, not sad tears at all, nothing sad. And and then I think, you know, I'm doing this from memory, but I think the first, like, real clue, I mean, you knew it was a male Jedi pretty quickly, and then you see the black glove, the iconic robotic hand, and I knew it was Luke. And then you see the green saber, and you're confirmed it is Luke Skywalker. And it was, you know, I think what was different about it, you know, compared to other, you know, Marvel moments for me, is we know that Luke Skywalker is, you know, one of the most powerful Force sensitive beings in the Star Wars galaxy. We never really have been able to truly, like, experience it. Like, you know, we know it, and in the films, especially the original trilogies, you know, we grow to know it by episode 7, episode 6, but you don't ever really get to truly experience it. Like, you know, he's battling Darth Vader and Sidious, and you know the power that he possesses, but you don't see it. But in this episode, you know, they had already shown us how powerful these dark troopers were, and that Mando, you know, basically could barely defeat one, but Luke just slices through them. I mean, like warm knife to butter. I mean, just slides right through every single dark trooper. And it's like he's on a stroll. Like he's strolling through the dark troopers. Oh, nice day at the park. just incredible. And I just started crying happy tears and laughing. Like, I was giddy. Like, it really, it touched. You know, I'm 37 years old. I mean, it really touched back to childhood. And, you know, I'm kind of pro that. And there's a wonder to being a child. There's a wonder to, you know, to have an imagination, to have a belief, to know that you know, incredible things are possible, and that there's some defining lines of good and evil that you know when you see a hero, and you know when you see a villain, and it's not all these daggum blurred lines, you know, that exist in the world right now. And so, you know, it was really cool, and it was exciting, and again, happy tears as he slices through those dark troopers. And then, you know, when Luke reaches the bridge and Mando has them open the door, and, you know, we know it's Luke because of all the clues, but we haven't seen his face, and he, you know, reveals his, he pulls his hood off, and it's not, I mean, it's Luke, right? Like, that part's there. But it's a perfectly, you know, CG'd young Luke. I mean, Mark Hamill looked better there than he ever has in his entire life. Like, but it was, I mean, it was believable, and it was perfect, and it was fantastic. And, you know, Luke lets us know, hey, he needs your permission. Like, you have this bond. And I mean, that was just, you know, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and I'm not sure who directed this film. I did not want to do any research. I didn't want to see anything. I hate spoilers. So I don't know who directed it, but, you know, Filoni and them wrote it. But anyways, I thought of everything. Like, when they were writing this script, it was like they were just going to stay true to the essential elements that have made Star Wars, you know, such a lasting narrative. And they didn't overthink it. They just gave it to us. They said, hey, this is going to be, this episode is really a gift. Yeah, we got to make money and all this stuff, and we will. But if we serve the Star Wars community, we will give it to them. It'll give back to us, and they understand that. And they gifted us this final episode, which was fantastic. They didn't overthink it. It wasn't, you know, like, how many agendas can we serve? How many people can we, you know, satisfy or not upset? It was just like true to Star Wars. And I love that. And Marvel, I think they missed that some in the end, a little bit. Not terribly. I'm not trying to be critical of Marvel intentionally here. But man, they really got it. Star Wars, you know, particularly the Mandalorian in this final episode, they got it. And, you know, again, I'm a huge Marvel fan, and I'm a big Star Wars fan. I mean, I consume almost everything Star Wars. But I'm a Marvel guy. I've been from the beginning. You know, as a kid, I really didn't get into Star Wars until, I mean, I watched them and I enjoyed them, I consumed them, but I didn't truly become like a fan, super fan, until I was 17, 18, 19 years old. And that actually began with reading the novels, not the movies. And understanding kind of the backbone and you know, kind of the true Star Wars narrative is really what has attracted me to Star Wars and the movies now. And of course, the last three movies, bleh, you know, not a huge fan. Watchable, but not a huge fan. So, you know, as a Marvel fan, watching the final episode of The Mandalorian, you know, I've never, like I said, I've never cried happy tears in a Marvel's movie. Maybe my memory just isn't there. If I did ever have happy tears in a movie, it was in the 2002 release of the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, watching Spider-Man web sling through the city. Maybe I did tear up in that, and I'm not remembering it. But I doubt it was quite, you know, this, I don't want to use the word euphoric. That's, you know, I'm not an idol worshiper of Star Wars. But gosh, I just enjoyed it. I mean, it must be, it was kind of like, you know, seeing a beautiful sunrise after being in the dark for a few years. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. And, you know, I'm looking forward to more Star Wars. Like right now, my anticipation level, we know we have all these Marvel movies that are kind of just waiting to be given to us and have been held up by the pandemic. But gosh, I have as equally as much, if not maybe a little more, anticipation for what the Star Wars universe is going to offer us. So again, my reaction is I'm more of a Star Wars fan this morning than I was when I woke up, and that's a big statement. And as a Marvel guy who loves all things Marvel for the most part, man, Star Wars is killing it right now. It's a great job, Star Wars. And anyways, thank you for taking in my reaction. You know, do remember to like this video and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If not, you know, maybe the YouTube algorithm will put me back in front of you again one day, and if so, that'd be great. Guys, peace be to you. Hope you have a marvelous day. Spidey G09, peace.